What do New Year's, weddings, or any good toasts have in common?
Champagne, of course, the official drink of celebration.
For legal reasons, it can only truly be called champagne if it comes from the Champagne region of France. Everything else is simply sparkling wine.
No, but really, this is law, and the French take it very seriously.
So what makes champagne so special? Well, there's only one way to find out.
Join me as we figure out if Champagne France lives up to its world-famous image.
Alright, and just like that, after 45 minutes, we are in Reims, Champagne. Okay, we have officially arrived in Reims, which is the unofficial capital of the Champagne wine growing region. Many of the world famous champagne houses are headquartered here in Reims, and the city is also known for a couple other things like their own version of Notre Dame, which is just a couple blocks away from us here in the city center. One of the first things you'll notice when you're getting off the train coming from Paris is that the vibe when you step off is much different. Immediately, it's a lot more quiet, a lot more slower pace, and a lot more relaxing, honestly. Because Reims and Champagne is a bigger tourist area, you will find some things open, like some of the champagne houses. But if you are planning to come here, particularly Sunday and Monday, be sure to check where you want to visit prior, because the odds are it may be closed. All right, well, with that said, we're actually gonna go grab some food and some drinks down in the town square, a couple minute walk away, before our first champagne house visit at Taittinger. So we have arrived at Taittinger, and other than just being a really famous champagne house here and worldwide, one of the reasons that we picked this one to visit is actually because they are the owners of another very famous champagne or sparkling wine winery house in Napa Valley, one of the most visited in the Carneros region, which is actually called Domaine Carneros. And that was a really important winery for me and something that really got me into wine. Because actually when I turned 21, it's where I went for my 21st birthday with my family. So with that, we're gonna go and do a tasting. Glad we made it. Only an hour late, but we're here. Let's go taste some champagne. So this stack of wine right here, apparently there's 103,000 bottles, and you can't really tell because it's dark, but it goes back about that far. And there's markers on the wall here along the whole way that show how deeply filled it is. Honestly, gotta say, these caves are way bigger than I thought they would be. It's just like, you could literally get lost in here. It's insane. Just wine, 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 champagne, champagne, champagne around every corner, and just stacks of it. It's wild. So that section we just went through, it's from the 13th century. They used to hold prisoners, World War II, like all kinds of stuff. It's crazy. All right, well, we just finished up at Taittinger over here, and I gotta say, I am thoroughly impressed. I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. Like I said before, we're massive, massive fans of Domaine Carneros in Napa, which Taittinger is the parent company of, but hadn't really heard anything about like what the estate or what the caves were like here in Reims in Champagne. The caves were honestly like breathtaking, just absolutely massive. I had absolutely no comprehension before doing that they were just gonna go and go and go and go. And on top of that they actually have a really interesting and long history. Some of the caves date back to like the 13th century. They've been refuge in World War II. They were used as dungeons and jails way back in medieval times. On top of awesome wines, awesome experience. It's pretty hot out, so being down in the caves also is just nice to get away from it all and feel it nice and cool. I will say when you're visiting, you're generally with like a larger group. So I'm not sure exactly if you can maybe book something earlier or later time to kind of avoid that. They do have offerings in, I think, maybe like 8 different languages. But all around, can definitely highly recommend just for the caves alone. So first up on the Champagne tour, definitely gets the Morgan seal of approval. That was awesome. It's winding down on a Sunday afternoon right now. So we're gonna walk back to our place, maybe make a couple stops along the way, and then see what else the town of Reims has to offer tonight. All right, so next up we have come to Epernay from Reims, which is about a 35-minute Uber or taxi ride or drive if you manage to rent a car here in Champagne. Again, you can take the train, but getting around the Champagne region is definitely proven to be a little bit difficult. Taxis can be expensive and kind of hard to come by. Ubers also can be a little bit difficult to book, but once you get it, it's a straight shot. Everybody here is super nice. So you'll recognize the next champagne house we're visiting is one of the most famous in the world. We actually visited the sister spot in Napa Valley only about a month ago. So really curious to see how this compares to that, and that would be Moet Chandon. One of the most famous champagne houses in the world, and they also own the very highly esteemed Dom Perignon. So we're super excited to see how this compares to not only what we saw in Napa Valley about a month ago and the American style that they kind of do over there, but also compared to Taittinger. The champagne houses here use basically a similar style because it's actually required by law, but they do have their own small differences that give it their own personality. Weird to think that all these bottles out here are just all the ones that go all over the world to go to different stores, just hanging out for years at a time. It's crazy. Lots and lots and lots of bottles. Behind me right here is where they keep all their Dom Perignon, and apparently they age that for up to 25, 30 sometimes years, and they don't make it every year. It's crazy. It's super interesting. So for this row, there are 80,000 bottles all the way back there. Something about being underground, it's so cool, literally. So these are all working caves here. You can see we just came through number 1, now we're at number 3. And they have machines moving, stacking, riddling all the bottles down here. It's quite loud actually. There's one right now. Super cool. Made it to the English garden. So we're just talking to the Somm, getting a few questions answered. And he's saying here they store most of Moet Chandon, Dom Perignon, their high quality things. And I was wondering how big the caves are. And he's saying that the caves here are up to, I think, between 25 and 28 kilometers. Which is kind of incomprehensible because the building that we're in right now is just on top of a city. So I'm guessing the caves just go like all sprawling all over the place. It's nuts. Also, there's, I believe, several levels, but even still, it's just super impressive. Like you could literally get lost in there. We have white and a rosé we're trying. Both really good. Don't know if I could really pick one out of the two. Can never go wrong with champagne. Merci. All right, we just finished up at Moet Chandon, right behind me. Also, Dom Perignon. Honestly, really impressed by the tour. I think this is one of the more robust, high quality tours here. All of them have been like really good, but something about this one, they like really walk you through the whole process. They have a somm that actually does the pouring. He'll answer any questions that you have about the wine, about the property, the history, the process. So with that, awesome first stop here in Epernay, and let's go explore the tap. So we are on the train back from Epernay to Reims. I think it's about a 25-minute train ride, maybe a little bit less. Our Uber here earlier was about 35 minutes from door to door, so probably a little bit less. This thing is starting to pick up. I think there's 5 stops along the way. A lot of nice scenery on both sides. There's a couple little French villages, a lot of vineyards. For now, we're just going to sit back and enjoy this view before we get back to Reims. Maybe see you there. All right, next up and third on the list is Veuve Clicquot. I'm sure you guys have definitely heard of it. It might be a little bit smaller producer technically than Moet Chandon, but they have by far some of the most impressive marketing, always have crazy events at ski resorts all over the place, beaches, and I think it's no exception here at their tasting room in Reims, France, and the headquarters. Walked in and it's already super cool. All the orange accents, just a nice little courtyard. So we're gonna go hit up the tour, see how it is, and taste a little more champagne. All right, well, we had a lovely time hanging out in the courtyard, enjoying another glass of champagne. The cellar tour at Veuve, I will say, is probably, from the ones we've done, the best production value all around. When you walk in, they give you like an iPad that's kind of a supplementary to the tour itself with the guide, and you can follow along with some different texts, some photographs that gives history, and some like moving images that show how different processes work. It just gave you a little more insight and just really kind of made it come alive. Gotta say, whoever does the marketing for Veuve is on just like the absolute top of their game. It's insane. Everything from the building itself to when you're driving by to the bottles themselves, everything is just like top class. After the tour, there's also a little visitor center room where you can purchase all kinds of different branded items. Everything from really unique champagne sleeves that can hold a bottle of champagne and then turn inside out and become like a little fanny pack thing. They have cool jackets, they have really cool bottles, obviously, in all kinds of different vessels. Cannot recommend enough. I think out of the 3 that we've been so far, Veuve would probably be my top choice. Madame Clicquot is actually one of the most influential people in not only Veuve Clicquot's history, but also for champagne itself. She developed the Riddling rack. She also developed rosé and just brought champagne to a whole nother level. Well, there is one more champagne house that we have not hit yet, just around the road from Veuve, and it was recommended to us by some people that we ran into. It's a smaller champagne house, not quite as popular in the United States. It goes by the name of Pommery. Apparently, not only is the champagne really good, but the tour here in Reims is quite exceptional as it's self-guided, and they do a really good job of incorporating some really interesting and unique art that makes for a really cool and unique experience. We just turned the corner around from Veuve and blown away, was not expecting this at all. I don't know if you can see behind me here, but Pommery is an actual chateau. Definitely the most impressive property we've seen so far. And we haven't even gone in yet. It is massive. It's like a full estate with a wall around it. Beautiful too. Let's see if we can get a little closer. All right, we're down in the Pommery caves, and I gotta say, I am already super impressed, and not only that, but kind of really surprised. I did not expect anything like this down here. You basically start by going into the chateau, and you can buy your ticket there at the door. I don't know if it's just because it's a less busy day, but I think we might be some of the only people down here. And it's a completely self-guided tour. So we're just walking through, enjoying all of the caves. And the really fun thing about the caves here is that behind every other corner, they've incorporated all this cool art. So all this kind of great light-based art is down here. Like this great tunnel we just walked through, which is full of lights just all the way down and through there. There's this really cool piece that blows up all these feathers and just makes these like waves of feathers. So really, really unique. Glad we stumbled upon this place. Honestly, it wouldn't even been really as on the radar if somebody at our last stop hadn't mentioned it. We're approaching some spooky music. Don't know what's around this corner. Oh my God. Wow. It's just this massive ceiling.
What's it called? The shame.
Yeah, it looks like electricity, like lightning. Just nobody else in here. Which makes it 10 times spookier. Like literally I think we're the only people down in these caves right now. And it's like miles and miles of caves. This is crazy. Crazy. Wow. Oh wow, I didn't even realize. Okay, that's super spooky. Look at that face up there. There's like this cool carving. Fête de Bacchus. It's the party of Bacchus, who is the god of wine in Greek mythology. That is just nuts. It's crazy. In the distance, you can hear it's still an active cellar. So they're still moving champagne and working in the backgrounds, but you can just tour this whole place by yourself. Nuts, honestly. Like every time we go to a new place, it one-ups the one before. Loving this. And still, we're the only people here. The only thing you can hear is like this kind of ambient music in the background, and then this creepy sound of rattling bottles that are being moved in like tunnels way far away. What is that? What is that? It's like snow in there? This is crazy. There is literally a cabin inside the cave up here. And up here above me, right there, that's the street. So that's how far we are underground. It's like a little manhole made of glass that lets natural light in. And that's actually how they originally made these caverns. It was to mine all the stone down here. Wow, this is nuts. Are you seeing this right now? This is crazy. There'll be a disco ball hanging in this wine cellar that's like hundreds of years old. And then there's this gigantic, what do you even call that? It's like a fruit tree. What is that? We got a carrot, we got some bananas, a peach, some eggplant. Pretty wild. I think the crazy thing about this is like, not only is it super unexpected and impressive that they can do this down here, but just that like, when you're looking up, you can see these portcullis up there that are way, way up there, like, I don't know, 50 feet, maybe more. And there's like, these are such old structures. It reminds you just how wild this is. I think this is just one of the most creative, coolest ways to use this space. And the fact that you can come and do it by yourself and just experience it without the crowds. And then on top of that, this is still a working cellar. It's just, this is insane. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. We're going into the next gallery. And just like before, massive, massive art structure. Super impressive. You never know what you're gonna get in this place. Check this out. Wow, I mean, this place just keeps giving. It's insane. It really does. It's so impressive. Unfortunately, we have to get to our train pretty soon, so I can honestly spend another like 2 hours in here. It's so cool. We're headed back up to the surface. Had to do a little speed run there, but wow, we actually have to do a little tasting and we're gonna run and grab some lunch. But absolutely visit Pommery. It was awesome. I'd recommend downloading the app before you come, and they do like a guided tour of some of the different exhibits, as well as actual champagne history and practices. And I'd also bring like a light jacket or a shawl, because it definitely stays chilly down there. All right, let's go taste one more champagne.
Here you have 33% of Pinot Noir, 33% of Pinot Meunier, and 33% of Pinot Noir.
Well, I think it must have had about 100 glasses of champagne in Champagne, but does champagne live up to the name? We hit 4 major stops, and each had their own charm. Taittinger for the historic caves, Moet Chandon plus Dom Perignon and Epernay to see how the biggest company in the world operates, Veuve Clicquot for its extremely high quality tour and to see how they do their incredible marketing, and my personal favorite Pommery for a truly unique self-guided art experience inside an impressive chateau. The town of Reims is actually quieter and less glamorous than I expected, given the reputation of champagne around the world, but it was also really charming. It doesn't have the glitz of Saint-Tropez or the quaintness of Amboise or Epernay, but it does have its own charm going for it. There's still plenty of classic French cafes to visit, and it has a ton of its own history. Plus, you're really here for the bubbly. So, if you're a champagne or history lover, it's absolutely worth a trip, but if that's not really your thing, there's definitely some trips you can take from Paris that might be a little more well-rounded. More champagne for the rest of us. Let me know your favorite brand of champagne down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Cheers, santé, prost. I'll see you in the next one.